Today's top picks from Reuters Breaking Views. Heineken tries to take the Asian tiger by the toe, and why Spain's overpaid bosses need to lead by example. With me now to discuss these stories is Reuters Breaking Views assistant editor Robert Cole. Robert, let's start with this Heineken shenanigans is the only word I can come up with, and a real tangled web here. Explain what's going on here and what's at stake.
Yeah, it is a tangled web because there are sort of cross holdings and sub holdings and joint ventures. But I think that it boils down to a pretty straightforward three-cornered battle. There's a brewer which makes Tiger beer out in Asia called the Asia Pacific Breweries, ABP. A Thai brewer has launched a bid and wants to take a big stake in this thing. And Heineken, which was a previous owner of another stake, has sort of come back. It's a very simple, or boils down to a pretty simple case of Heineken trying to drive the Thai tanks off its Asian lawn, if you like.
But then there are still two other people involved here. There's Fraser and Neve and Kirin, just to add to the mix. Yeah,
absolutely. But I think today's story is pretty straightforwardly about Heineken, which has a long history in the Far East, and it has been a bit threatened by the incursion of this Thai entrepreneur, the owner and controller of Thai Bev. It's come back really quite quickly to try and, as I say, drive those Thai tanks off the lawn.
And this is basically to protect what is possibly the only growing area, in other words, emerging markets, Asia, for its product.
Yeah, absolutely. Beer, among other things, is definitely a growing market in Asia, and it's something that Heineken doesn't want to be diluted, shall we say.
So they're protecting their interests. They're really just trying to drive off the competition and effectively maintain the status quo?
Yeah, that's broadly it. And the key here, or one of the keys here, is that it's having to pay quite a lot to maintain that status quo. And investors are now going to start wondering whether they can get any synergy benefits out of it, and whether they can justify the premium that's being paid. As a defensive move, and seeing as they're already in that market, you would kind of think that perhaps there aren't that many cost savings to be had. So what we might realise this is at the end of the day is a relatively expensive defensive move for Heineken. My inclination is that they're probably doing the right thing, but it could prove quite costly for them.
But they'll have to basically justify it by the increase in sales, etc. But you think that's possible?
I think it's going to be difficult, actually. But the alternative, they may not be able to get those increase in sales and the cost savings out, but the alternative is that they'd lose those sales, possibly. So, as I say, it's a defensive move rather than an aggressive move. And one, of course, which could leave our Thai entrepreneur looking quite nice. I think he made this bid a couple of days ago. That's an 11% or something, I think, return over one day or 36 hours, which rough math says it's 2,800% annualised return.
OK, so Mr. Sharowen, and we won't even attempt to say his other name, seems happy with that. Let's move on to the Spanish bosses needing an internal devaluation.
Well, yeah, if you were confused and befuddled by this one, the Asian and Heineken thing, this is very, very simple. My colleague Fiona has done some trawling through and made a very simple observation that some of the captains of Spanish industry in telecoms, energy and banks just get paid a lot more than their European rivals. They're also a little bit sort of behind the curve when it comes to this disclosure of these amounts. And given that, I think Spanish unemployment is at 25%, and austerity is biting hard, and I think a lot of people are having to certainly face up to the possibility of pay cuts, and not unreasonably, being a bit upset about.
Before I take their side, then let's play devil's advocate. Are they delivering dividends and profits which they could justify?
No, I don't think anybody can say that any of these companies is in rude health because of the state of their home market is in such a poor state of affairs. The quantum, I think, is important. You know, regardless of whether they're delivering on their targets. You know, it is surely only right for them to have less pay, to have at least some.
So we need a shareholder spring.
And yeah, there is a room in Spain to take a leaf out of the British book, and yeah, put some pressure on the big bosses to lead by example, if you like.
Okay, so more demonstrations for varying different reasons.
Yeah. Perhaps we'll have sort of chief executives taking to the streets saying, "What do we want?
It's
€1 million. When do we want it now?"
It's tough at the top. Okay, Robert, thank you very much indeed for that. That's it for now. For more agenda-setting financial insight, watch our US Breaking Views show every day at 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 BST. I'm Nigel Stevenson. This is Reuters. Yes, we had a very dubious picture.